Hi, everyone. My name is Michael McCarthy, and I'm the Vice President of Education for Toastmasters Boston Copley Square area. And today what we're doing is we are gathering 3 different Toastmasters clubs together to do a joint Toastmasters meeting. This is actually a live production, so you're going to see what a real Toastmasters group does. Part of our meeting is a membership drive, and we would encourage you to come, be a guest, see if Toastmasters fits for you, and we're going to start off right now with the way we start off every Toastmasters group, is starting off with our lead Toastmaster, Caleb Page.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, everybody. I'm glad you're all here for the Toastmasters meeting. As Michael said, the way we start off with each meeting is going through some of the roles and what the different responsibilities are for the meeting. In a normal meeting, we know that we'd normally have a couple of speeches started up, and we'd introduce who those speakers are going to be today. We'd have a general evaluator to share what their team is, and then they'd talk through the different roles, the timer, the grammarian, even an ah counter to just keep track of how many ahs and ums and so's that we might have. And then also the speech evaluators to give feedback for those specific speakers. There's a section of the meeting that we're going to go through tonight and focus on that solely. It's called Table Topics. And for that, we have 3 Table Topics masters that will be presenting different areas, impromptu questions for us to answer. The 3 Table Topics masters will be, first one will be Anna Kaufman. And I'll have Anna come up and she's going to even take us through a small part of Table Topics first, just to show. Come on up, Anna.
Thank you, Caleb. Hello, everyone. As Caleb mentioned, we'll be doing table topics this evening, and I want to start us off with a little prep, and I'm going to tell you what brought me to Toastmasters and what it is that I think it can offer everyone else. For me, Toastmasters allowed me to explore a little bit of the potential that I knew I still had to speak better. And throughout the 2.5 years I've been a member, it's been phenomenal how much I've improved. And I notice that myself, and I notice others mentioning it to me as well. And what it can offer others is really a great place to network, to meet people, to improve public speaking, and to get better at being a leader. It's a wonderful program that has both a communication and a leadership track. And it's a fun place to share time with others. I'm going to ask some of our other members to come up and share a little bit of their story. Come on up.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to share a little bit about why I joined Toastmasters. This is my 3rd stint at a Toastmasters club. I first started out when I got my first job and was a fish out of water and felt very quiet and very reserved, and realized very quickly in the corporate world that I needed to be able to speak up confidently. And so that's why I joined my first Toastmasters club. And after that experience, I was able to gain the confidence speaking up in meetings and actually got the opportunity to give presentations to business leaders. And my coworkers at the time also recognized that I had just opened up a lot more around the office. And my current goal in Toastmasters is to develop my leadership skills. And my call to everybody out here or who's listening is that whatever your goals are, I feel like Toastmasters will bring the best out of you. You'll meet a great group of people, and you'll be able to improve yourself.
Thanks so much. Who's next? Come on up, Tyler.
Thank you, everybody. My name's Tyler Keegan. I'm the Vice President of Membership at Copley Square Toastmasters. And I joined for a very similar reason. I have a voice, and I've always expressed that, and most people who know probably say I do it too often. But what I didn't have was the practice necessarily to hone my skill. I constantly am speaking in front of people, teaching and doing seminars where I'm in front of professionals or people just trying to get started in various stages of life. And I realized practice makes perfect, and there's no better place to grow than Toastmasters. As well, we're constantly trying to meet new people. And it's difficult being in a city. You're a small fish in a very, very large pond. And Toastmasters allows you to meet people where you all get along because you're working for the same goal and you're going through the same struggles. So you instantly have a connection that allows you to grow and develop these relationships that become real friendships over time. And it allows you then to hone your craft, become a better speaker. And ultimately, you get two things out of one day of a week during lunchtime. And it's absolutely been one of the best decisions I've made. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. We have a few more members in the audience who would like to share next. Come on up, Michael.
Thank you, Anna. Joining Toastmasters was actually my New Year's resolution. And I've only been in Toastmasters 10 months. For January of this year, I was flying to Florida to be with my parents for New Year's. And I was reading one of these self-help books and doing my annual assessment of how am I doing in the world and what do I need to change. And one of these self-help books asked me, what would you do with your career? What would it be? If you didn't have one, if your slate was blank, what would it be? And I thought, I would like to teach people. That's what I really like doing. However, I invent food products for a living, which is very far off from teaching people. Initially, I was disappointed about that. And I thought, I don't want to switch jobs just yet because I own the company that makes the food. So I don't want to just throw it away immediately. And I decided, why don't I make this a hobby? Why don't I join Toastmasters as a hobby and see how it goes? And the benefit of doing that is now that I'm a better public speaker from the help of the group that mentors me as well, is when I was at the Fancy Food Show in July of this year in New York City, a woman came up to me and said, we would like to interview you about food. And I'm a former Wall Street money manager, and she wanted someone who could speak about the fact that U.S. manufacturing prices had gone down, yet the food sector had gone up. And they wanted someone to explain it. And I said, I could explain it for you. She sent a car for me, and I ended up, without knowing until about 10 minutes before, that I was going to be on The Real Money Show with Ali Velshi on Al Jazeera America that was broadcast across 150 stations in every nation in the world. When I went into the studio, I was nervous, but I knew what to do. I said no ums, which I'm really proud of. I would have never been prepared for that had I not taken Toastmasters. By being at Toastmasters, and this is why I think everyone should come, is you know how to think quickly on your feet. When a situation comes and you need to make a decision calmly about how to represent yourself, this has really been invaluable for me. And as far as becoming a better leader, that wasn't my goal, but it has been a nice side effect. And I'm really pleased that for a little over $100 a year, one day a week, Tuesdays at noon, I go to Trinity Church in Copley Square. I meet new people who are all doing well and trying to do better. And it's really nice to be around a group of people who are trying to improve themselves and are all in a good state of mind and just trying to do better. And it encourages me. So I get a lot of inspiration, and I would encourage anyone to join it. I think we can all get benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I know there's some more members in the audience, and I know you're dying to tell us what it is about Toastmasters that you love. Thanks.
Hi, I am Sauji Saki. I am the area governor for Area 52. I have been in Toastmaster for 3 years, and I have to tell you that I learned a lot. I grew up in and went to school in India, where they used to have the speech contests 3 to 4 times in a year. And I have been participating there for a long time. But there is a gap of 10 years. Then I realized that after I came here, I realized that there is a Toastmasters club where I can go and practice. I have to tell you, I started from scratch because I lost touch. Toastmasters is a great place where you can practice and hone your presentation skills and also leadership skills. The more I involve in Toastmasters, the more I know that there is a lot more to learn. And I encourage everyone to be a Toastmaster. It makes you a better speaker, better leader, and a better person as a whole.
Thank you. I think we can ask one more member to come on up and share with us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tim, and I've always been very shy growing up. However, I do have a dream of owning my own business in a few years. And I knew that having public speaking as a strong skill would just be very vital to make that dream happen for me. And this is why I joined the club. And just the people that I get to go to the club with are just amazing. And the skills that I've learned so far are just out of this world. And just the perspective that you get from just hearing so many people speak from their hearts, and just the words of encouragement that you get, and just seeing people that are really striving to better themselves every week just really inspires me as a person. And if you plan on enjoying yourself, there's so many great things you can get out of this. You're really going to just put yourself out of your comfort zone every week, and you're really just going to grow as a person and gain a lot of confidence. And that's why I'm really happy I joined, and I hope that you join as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and hopefully that gives you a little peek into what it is that makes Toastmasters so special to each of us. I'm going to give it back to our Toastmaster for the day, Caleb. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anna. What was really interesting about that was that every person that responded to this question responded to impromptu. They hadn't thought about the answer beforehand, which was great because we got to hear off-the-cuff remarks, other than maybe Michael, because he sounded so smooth that I think most of us said he ought to be on commercials or something. And being able to speak on TV on AJAM, that's fantastic. I hadn't heard that story before, so that's a great story. Some of the things to think about is Toastmasters actually just passed its 90th anniversary. I've spoken about this in our club, and I'm sure the other clubs have spoken about it as well. But to think about what Toastmasters looked like 90 years ago, there was no TV to broadcast on. The radio actually, I think, was, 90 years ago, 1925, so radio was nascent. It was a format for us on which we spoke, but not many people were speaking in public other than pastors maybe or politicians. And just thinking about how that's evolved to where we are today, and how we have, it's more of as much art as science as it is now. And Toastmasters really brings a structure by which we can learn in this science. As I said before, most meetings we're working through our speaking schedules with 10 different speeches as we work to challenge ourselves on anything from how do I use my vocal variety, or how do I use gestures, or how do I use facts and figures to present data, all the way down to just some of the more simple things about how do I just speak about myself in an ice-breaking speech. So anybody can try at varying levels to challenge themselves. What we're going to see next, though, is a continuation of the challenge, and maybe the more humorous part of the hour, as we bring our first table topics master up to ask us a variety of questions of which none of us know what those questions are going to be, and we're going to test ourselves in giving responses. Those responses will range from 1.5 to 3 minutes. And our challenge as we answer those questions is to deliver a response that's well thought, articulate, something that hopefully maybe has a little bit of humor or that brings the audience around in a way of interest that we may not have thought of before. So with that, I'm going to introduce Saoji Sake. And if you'd also give an overview of your chapter, where you meet, and just how we might be able to find out a little bit more about yours. Thank you.
Hello again. I'm the table topics master for today. I belong to 3 clubs. I'm the president of Renaissance Advanced Club. We meet every first Thursday of month in Westboro Senior Center from 7 to 9 p.m. The eligibility for membership at Advanced Club is you have to complete a CC. So if you have done 10 speeches, come over to our club. We are having an open house next Thursday. So it is the right time to come and check out how we do. In Advanced Club, we do a lot of the deeper evaluations, 10 minutes per speech. So you get a lot of feedback from everyone in the room. So it is a great opportunity, and you can come to our club as a guest. Regarding the table topic section, I'm going to give a impromptu question, and you are going to talk about it for 2 to 3 minutes. And these questions nobody knows except me, so it is all impromptu, and you are going to speak off the cuff. I will call first table topic speaker. Who is coming first? Tyler. As Halloween is around the corner, I would ask you, what is your favorite costume, and what is your favorite Halloween year you'd spent?
I love these seasonal questions. Halloween means a lot of different things to a lot of people, and the question was, what's my favorite outfit and what's one of my most memorable Halloweens? That is a very good question because I tend to not dress up that often. However, for those of you who know me know I can't talk enough about my dogs. I have a big Newfoundland. He's about 160 pounds, and he's 1 year old. Followed with a Corgi. If we put him on this desk, he's this tall. Maybe his head's right here. He's 30 pounds. He's about 2 years old, so he's fully grown now. I dress my dogs up like you would not believe. I'm like Kim Kardashian with my dogs. This year, I've got Yogi the best Boston Bruins jersey that you could imagine. Because he will. We're going to go and we're going to find him because he's going to be on TV for the Bruins because the Bruins are the Bears and no bear is bigger than my dog. He's big, brown, bulky, drooly Boston Bruin. He is awesome. Follow that up with an aggressive little Brad Marchand Corgi. And that is by far the best costume. Over time, Danielle and I, my spouse at home, we've been together for 8 years. We have a lot of different Halloween memories that I think the best ones are the ones that we share together. My favorite, if we want to look at the costume side of things, is one year we decided to go as doctor and nurse, which was really fun and cute. But it was even more appropriate because she's, as most of you know, training to become a vet. So at the time she was a nurse and now she's still working for her doctorate. But it kind of fitted in with what we were doing. And at the time we were still in school. But by far my favorite costume is the one that I have my dogs in right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taylor. I too dress up my 2-year-old son, and I enjoy him watching him enjoying the costume. The next question is, as the holiday season is going to begin, the Thanksgiving and Christmas, what is your favorite vacation, or how do you like to spend your holidays?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tim, and the question was, what is my favorite thing to do around the holidays, or what is my favorite holiday? So for me, the holidays are always a very intimate setting. It's usually just my two parents, my two brothers, and my dad. He's an amazing cook, and he just makes dish after dish after dish, and it's all really good and yummy, and we just eat a lot, drink a lot, and really relax. And I'm a very hyper and super active person, and the holidays are one of the few times that I really just do nothing and just enjoy time with my family, watch a little football on TV for Thanksgiving, and just get to bond with those I love. So that's what I like to do on Thanksgiving. Well, thank you.
I agree with you. Holidays means food and eating a lot. My next question is, how do you manage stress? Who wants?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Michael, and the question is, how do I manage stress? I think if there was an Olympic competition for being stressed out, it would be me. I'm a complete gold medalist over it. And I used to have panic attacks. They would come every morning at 5:03 like clockwork. And panic attacks are awful. They are the height of stress. What I ended up doing is I went back to Harvard University to study mind-body medicine to understand how can I reduce my stress. A few things that everyone can do. One is I do aerobic exercise. I learned how to do the butterfly because I was on a swim team, and I found out that if you replicate a panic attack without actually having one, you can trigger your subconscious to stop it. So when you're doing the butterfly, your heart rate's up, you're breathing fast, and you're moving quickly. And when you're having a panic attack, you're breathing very quickly, your heart rate's up. When one would come along, the subconscious put in a circuit breaker. That was my idea. Put in a circuit breaker of what can you do when you're having panic, but your brain says, okay, well, am I having panic or am I doing butterfly? Am I running? Am I doing exercise? And that's how I reduce my stress, is I do aerobic exercise every day, very strenuous, only 20 minutes, but it's very hard. And I enjoy it. Plus the endorphins come in, and those are basically our natural opiates, and they will relax you. But when panic does come up, the circuit breaker kicks in and my body asks itself, am I exercising or is there something really to worry about? And that's how I manage my stress. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Today morning I went to a benefits fair and they gave me a stress meter. I had to press my thumb and it will show me, it changed colors, how stressed I am and how calm I am. That was very interesting. And since the daylight saving time is around the corner, my next question is, what are your thoughts on daylight saving times?
My name is Otuko. Good evening, everyone. Daylight savings time for me is very confusing because my body, for some reason, putting the clock fall forward or spring backwards kind of throws me off the loop a little bit. And so ideally, I would like there not to be any daylight savings time. In the fall time, which is my favorite season, it's nice that the weather is getting a little colder. We put on our little sweaters, we put on a jacket, but it gets dark so early. So all you want to do is kind of hibernate and stay inside, and you don't get to enjoy it as much. And then in the spring, the clock slowly, moves backwards and we have longer days, which is great. But in the spring, we're not quite in this, summer season yet. But then in the summer, that's when daylight saving is probably the most beneficial because then we get to enjoy the warm weather and the longer days. But in the fall, I guess, is when I would say I wish there wasn't any daylight savings time.
My 2-year-old wakes up around 6:30 on the weekends, and the weekdays he sleeps longer. So I think he's going to wake up at 5:30 this weekend. I'm not sure. I hope he sleeps longer. My next question is, if you want to go back in time and tell your younger self an advice, what will it be? Any volunteers? Anna?
Sajid, I think you cheated. This was one of the questions I had for my table topics, which I won't be able to use, but that's okay. If I could go back in time and give myself some advice, I would tell myself not to be so shy. Tim mentioned earlier that he was very shy growing up, and actually I didn't mention it when I talked about Toastmasters, but as a kid, I was probably the shyest kid you'd ever meet. I would barely talk to anybody unless they were family. I would go to birthday parties and kind of do my own thing in the corner. And I never really gave myself the opportunity to speak up. That's why Toastmasters has been so beneficial for me, because as I've gotten older, I've found my voice, as Tyler shared with us earlier, and it's been a great learning opportunity for me to be able to convey my message succinctly and positively and encourage others to do the same. So if I could go back, I would tell myself not to be so shy, and maybe I was a little too young then to join Toastmasters, but I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to do that now and have combated some of that shyness. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. That is the advantage of being the first table topics master. My next question. Share with us any life lesson you have learned the hard way. Any life lesson you have learned the hard way. Who is coming?
Thank you, Saji. I could probably write a book on this with a few extra chapters. And for those of us in the Toastmasters group, we've been close enough that we've heard some of my chapters, lessons we've learned the hard way. The one that I tell frequently comes from having a business. And for those of us that have been in business, we all know that there's a period of time where you run out of cash. And it just happens at some point. You say, I've got to either change what I'm doing with business or I've got to think about it a different way. I've got to change my outlook. I just have to figure it out. What had happened, though, is I had started my first business, and this was something I broke out of corporate. I had a lot of money invested in it, retirement savings, loans, all the things you go when you go large in that first project that you're really going to undertake and it's going to be successful. And that happened in, or August of 2005. By October, it was October 16th, 2006, to be clear, I was curled up on the couch. I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want to see anything. I didn't want to talk to anyone because I didn't know where we were going to go. I didn't know where the next dollar was going to come from. We'd gone through all the money that we'd put into that business. I didn't know how I was going to do payroll that following Wednesday. My wife, who sees me as an optimistic person, she said, what's gotten into you? This isn't you. This isn't the Caleb I know. However, at that moment, all my optimism had been drained out of me, and I just didn't know where else to move. Well, that day, I think the 16th was a Saturday. By the time the 17th came around, I figured out a way to get another chunk of change, and I had another bunch of cash, and I was back in business and ready to go again. But I'll never forget that was one of the hardest lessons I'd ever learned, was to really watch what I'm doing when I'm operating my own business. I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. My next question, what is your favorite pastime? Easy question.
So I'm a guest here tonight, and this is my first time up here, so I'm as new as some of the viewers might be watching this at home or on YouTube. I'd like to thank Tim, first off, for inviting me here tonight. Favorite pastime? I think that's something that a new favorite pastime for me has developed over the past few months, and this sounds very simple, but walking has been something I've really grown to love. And I started walking to work in the summer when I bought my Fitbit. And as Tim probably knows, I'm an extremely competitive person. And with Fitbit, you track all of your steps every single day, and you can add your friends. So I added a couple of my friends from college that I hadn't seen in a while and figured this would be a good way to keep in touch with them. And of course, I wanted to win the step count every week. So the idea that I came up with was, okay, I'll have to walk to and from work now to get in some extra steps. So that's 45 minutes each direction. And it started from this kind of competitive, silly place, but walking and the time that I get to spend reflecting or listening to podcasts or talking to my mom or whatever it might be has really become some of my favorite time these days. And I have a lot going on at work, a lot going on at home, and some exciting things on the horizon. And I find the time that I get to spend walking and thinking has been really great for me as a person. And I do win the step count most weeks, in case any of you are wondering. So thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the table topic section first, and I will now introduce the table topics master to Tim.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to ask all these questions I found on Google earlier today, so hopefully they're challenging enough for all of you. First question, are miracles possible? Who would like to go? Michael?
I do believe miracles are possible, and I'm going to give you one that recently happened that there's no denying it was a miracle. I believe miracles are things that outsiders think are normal. They're not the splitting of the seas or the sky falling. They look normal to outsiders, but to the person receiving the miracle, it's special. And I recognize them because I look for them. I had to fly to California a few days ago, late notice, and it was the first time in my life I got on an airplane, and it was only a middle seat was available. Last seat on the plane, it was the next to the last row, cross country, and I thought, I'm just going to accept the fact that I'm grateful I'm flying, I'm grateful that I have a plane seat, and I'm grateful that I have this really great book that my best friend gave me for my birthday. It's a really good story I was excited about. I resolved to sit in that middle seat. The plane was packed. The person on the window seat didn't make the plane. The person behind the middle seat didn't make the plane. I took the window seat. I was now automatically in business class. I reclined the seat. There was no knee defender with some irate passengers banging on the back of my head. And the middle seat next to me was my little lounge armrest. And I thought, you never get the seat behind you or the seat next to you open ever. And to me, for $400 round trip to California, that was a miracle. Thank you.
Well, I wish I had that type of luck. Last time I went to California, there was a fire at the fueling station, and I arrived about 5 hours later at 3 in the morning with no hotel. So that was a crazy experience. But maybe if I had your positivity, I would have made it through there, and I would have got a nice window seat too. So next question, do you believe in aliens? Who would like to speak about that? Do you believe in aliens? Tyler, come on up.
Thank you. Let's just start and take a broad look at things. There are more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth. We have yet to even have the technology to see half of them. Light in our universe has traveled far, but it hasn't even hit all that exists yet because the universe hasn't been around long enough for light to travel that far. To think that we are the only species to have been lucky enough to survive is just not possible. No matter what the odds are, there's another one of us out there. There might even be another one of us in another Earth, in another Toastmasters, in another TV station. If we take a look at what Neil deGrasse Tyson, he just had this show called The Cosmos, and he took a look at all the things that make us who we are and what built the universe and the galaxies and the cosmos together. We all have the basic building blocks that are out there. We're made of carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. And oddly enough, those are the same most common ingredients in the universe. It would be another thing entirely if we were made from plutonium or some Einsteinium or boron, I don't know. But we're not. We're made of the most common things for fundamental life existence. We're made of the same thing stars are made of. We're made of the same thing planets are made of. Whether or not they have life, what those are made of are what's in us. And it's almost the exact percentages that are most commonly found are the same percentages that are found in the human body. Now, with all of that pointing out there and endless amounts of odds, I am 100% certain we are not alone. Thank you.
I agree, those are very high odds, so there must be life. So what is the difference between living and being alive? Rashid?
Thank you. Hello, my name is Farshid Varasti, and the question is, what is the difference between living and being alive? On a late night, I was switching channels, and I came across this talk show sort of thing. It was an older man giving a talk. And he said, and later on I realized the gentleman was Norman Vincent Peale, and he was giving an AA talk. And he said life is cut into two sections, divided between the hopeful and the hopeless. And I've decided always to be on the hopeful side, so being more optimistic, right, on a plane ride, for example. So what is the difference between being alive and living? Animals live, but I don't think they're alive like the way we are. They procreate, but they don't have creativity. They may plan ahead on storing food, but they don't plan ahead for next generations and build skyscrapers and write books and carry knowledge and intelligence and wisdom to the next generation. And I think as human beings, as intelligent beings who may not be alone, we have a responsibility not just to be alive, but to live and to live well. Mark Twain said, it's not the size of the dog in the fight that matters, it's the size of the fights in the dog. What do I decide to do? Do I want to just live and be alive, or do I want to live and live well? I hope we all do. I hope we all want to live really well.
Thank you, Rashid. That was very nice. Clearly, I think we're all definitely living by coming here and just getting out of our comfort zones and speaking in front of so many people. So great job, everyone. Next question. If you were going to write a book, what would you call it and what would it be about? I'd like to speak about that. Michael McCarthy?
Thank you. I actually have a book in mind. I wasn't expecting this one, but the book is called My Deal with God. And about 6 years ago, I was retired. I retired 12 years ago from a money management firm I had started on Wall Street. And I was retired for about 5 years, and I really didn't like it. I got a nice little drug and alcohol problem out of it. And I remember waking up one day at my lake around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That was the latest I could sleep in. And I remember saying, if tomorrow's like today, I don't want it. And that was the first time I thought, wow, that sounds like suicide. And it actually scared me because I want to live to be over 100. And I went outside and looked up at the sky and I said, God, I hate to be one of these schmucks that comes at you at the last second, but I've read every self-help book, I've taken every pill, I've gone through 24 different antidepressant prescriptions, and I'm done. I've tried everything. And I don't know what to do. And then this little idea came in my head, and I made a deal with God. And I said, if you teach me how to be happy again, I will teach other people. And it scared me because, you make a deal like that, you can't exactly go back on it. And another thing clicked in my head, which was interesting. I thought I might enjoy that. So that was what inspired me to go back to Harvard. And the first class I took was positive psychology. And that's when I learned that you can learn how to be happy again. And I felt a little dumb that I had to relearn this again in my late 30s, but I did, and I enjoyed it. And there are things that you can do to become happier again. They don't make a lot of sense, especially when you're depressed, like volunteering. No one would ever think that that one really works, but that one works really fast. So if you're depressed, go to a soup kitchen. I won't tell you why, just try it. And in about 5 minutes, you'll be like, oh my God, I'm helping somebody and I'm not focused on my own problems. And guess what? You're no longer depressed. That's why volunteering works. So that is my book. And I'm keeping my promise by teaching other people how to be happy. And that's why I want to do more teaching and public speaking. And it helps me stay in a good frame of mind. So thanks for the loaded question. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. That was a great answer. And I feel like those are the types of answers that really inspire us in the audience. So thank you. For the next question, who in your life has influenced you the most, and how did they do it? Gotti, would you like to come up?
Hey, my name is Gotti. This is the first time that I've been at a Toastmasters club, so this is kind of off the cuff. Who inspired me the most in my life? I'm going to kind of go with the corny answer, but it would be my mom. The reason why is my mom was born in 1950 in Israel. She moved in 1989 because my father decided that America would be a little bit better of a life for us, just to start something new. And I think that something was impressive is that she didn't want to come here. And it was really challenging for her to move to a whole other country and leave her mom and her other family that was in Israel. I was 4 years old at the time, and I feel like I learned a lot of life lessons from her. Growing up, she always gave me a lot of advice and told me about life lessons, but I didn't want to listen to her. And it was one of those things that every time as a kid, your parents try to tell you things and you just don't really care. But now looking back at it, she taught me a lot of really important things, including humility, including being confident in who you are and trusting yourself. In 2005, when I was 20 years old, in Colorado, where I'm from, She was diagnosed with uterine cancer, and it was something that I just didn't even expect. My dad was probably in his mid to late 60s. She was 55, and it was stage 4, and so we knew that she had just a few months to live, and so seeing her in her last moments of life really inspired me to know what it meant to live. And I think that previous question was, so many times in our life, we just kind of live every day as just, we wake up, we go to our job, and then we go to sleep, and we wake up again. And I think that seeing my mom pass away and being the first funeral that I went to was just a really big eye-opener. So I think it was really impressive to think about how she influenced me. And I think that a lot of people look at funerals and think that they're really sad and really awful moments in time, but it actually was really inspiring, and she taught me how to live. So she influenced my life the most, I think. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being a guest and also sharing such a touching story with all of us. It really appreciate it. For the next question, if you could try out any job for a day, what job would it be? Tuco?
If I could try out any job for a day, what would it be? I have a secret passion for cooking. And as a kid, when I was about 4 or 5 years old in the kitchen, I would get on this little step stool and help my mom in the kitchen cook whatever she was cooking. And my mom's very creative. And I remember also whenever we had book fairs at school, I would gravitate to little cookbooks. And I'd try little recipes. And I was fortunate enough to have home ec as an option for me throughout my primary school and middle school years, and always enjoyed cooking and bringing those dishes home and sharing it with my family. And also, as I grew older, I've become sort of the person who's also in the know with food and with food for me cooking and sharing with my friends, but also going out to restaurants and eating and learning all that kind of stuff. And I've had this secret desire in my future to actually take cooking lessons and perfect the craft. Right now, it's sort of a hobby thought, but who knows, maybe in the future you might be tasting a little something from me.
As I mentioned earlier, food's a big part of my life as well. My brother went to culinary school, so he's a great cook, and maybe taking some of those cooking classes would really make a big difference for your life. So I urge you to do that. So what is something that you wish everyone knew about you? It's a little hard question. Anna?
Thanks, Tim. I was over there thinking about what are all the things that I want people to know about me or don't want people to know about me. I think what I would like people to know is that I speak several languages. And it's probably not apparent right when you see someone where they're from or what languages they speak. But I grew up bilingual, which helps me get more acquainted with learning languages, and I think it's always been kind of natural for me to develop those skills, and I've been fortunate enough that I've had the opportunity to do so. I grew up speaking Russian and English, and I started studying French at the age of 12, studied French and Spanish in high school, took Italian in college, took a semester of Arabic also, so a little bit of everything in there, and I've been fortunate enough that I've had the opportunity to practice those languages, English on a daily basis, Russian on a daily basis as well with my family, and French, Spanish, a little bit with friends here and there. I also lived in Italy for about 6 months and studied over there, so I got the chance to speak with native speakers, which is much more difficult than speaking in a classroom. If you've ever learned how to speak a language in a classroom, being there and talking to people is completely different. And it's always a surprise, I think, when people find out that I speak 5 languages. They kind of get off-put. They don't know which ones. They want to know how. They want to know the whole backstory. And it might just save a lot of that kind of fuss if they just knew right off the bat, this is what I speak. And it also tells a little bit of my story and where I've lived and how I grew up. I'll give it back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Wow, that's very impressive. I can barely learn English, and I've been taking Spanish my whole life, and I'm still not that proficient at it. So my last question, what was the strangest punishment that your parents ever gave you growing up? I hear Caleb laughing, so I think he has a great answer for this one. So Caleb, come on up.
Actually, I don't have one, although I think my mother thinks my father should probably be punished for this. When I grew up, I was one of these people to grow up on a farm. My dad was doing his hippie thing. I was born in '69, so I was living off the land up in central New Hampshire. And the only thing we bought from the store were paper products. Everything else we grew in gardens, and we slaughtered our animals. And in fact, the houses we lived in were 200-year-old homes. He restored these homes. He was a carpenter. Yes, my father was a carpenter. And we'd be pulled apart these houses. We'd tear apart the flooring, the walls. There generally wasn't running water. And in the case of this one house, the Red House, we call it, up in Bradford, New Hampshire, I can remember very literally one winter where all the flooring was pulled up, so you had to bounce across the floor joist to get out to the kitchen, which was heated by a wood stove, by the way, no central heat. But to go to the bathroom, you went out the front door, and you had to head down the driveway to the garage where the outhouse was built in the back of this driveway. And I remember that seat was metal. And so you're sitting there holding yourself at the age of 5 years old up over this seat, just trying to do your thing, and then hustling back to the house. It was so cold in this house that our playroom with plastic Legos everywhere, I remember picking up a helicopter, and I can't remember what it's called right now on top, the propeller just snapped right off because it was so cold for the lack of heat out there. So I don't know if that's a strange punishment. However, my mother probably thinks it was an inhuman punishment, but I think my father thinks that was probably just a part of understanding the world and how some people grow up, and that was my strange and unusual punishment. And I'll give it back to you, Tim.
Very strange and unusual. No wonder you were chuckling when I asked that question. So now that I'm done with my questions, it's time for Anna, our last year Topics Master, to present some questions to all of us. So, further ado.
I get the challenge of going last. A few of my questions were already asked, but no worries, I have lots more for everyone. As we heard earlier, this year marks the 90th anniversary of Toastmasters International. So I'd like to know, and for those of you listening and watching, think about your answer as well. What would you like to accomplish by age 90? Michael, coming up.
Thank you. My name is Michael, and what would I like to accomplish by age 90? It's really great that you asked me that question because just yesterday I was in California, and I had the privilege of being at Jack Canfield's house for the last 5 days, and he's the third or fourth largest, most published author. He did the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, so the whole 4 or 5 days was all about stretching yourself. I own a food business because I make food for brain function, and I believe food is medicine. And in 90 years, I want people to seriously consider that your grocery store is your pharmacy. When something ails you, you go to the grocery store for food. When you have arthritis, you go for spicy hot peppers because the capsaicin will reduce the inflammation. If you want to prevent osteoporosis, you don't take calcium tablets because they don't actually work. They will clog your arteries because you get calcification, which is hardening of the arteries. But if you take celery, which looks like a bone, snaps like a bone, and is 13% sodium, just like a bone, that's what strengthens bones, celery. And you can start to look at food which helps the body parts. Just like celery looks like a bone, what does a tomato look like? It's red. When you do a cross-section, 4 chambers, just like your heart. And what happens when you do a cross-section of a carrot? Has vitamin A, helps night vision. Cross-section of a carrot looks just like an eye. So I would like people to see food as medicine and that your grocery store is your pharmacy. That's what I would like to accomplish. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Now we all need to stock up on celery, tomatoes, and carrots. All right, next question. Many well-known brands have slogans that are household phrases. Nike's Just Do It, Burger King's Have It Your Way, Dunkin' Donuts, America Runs on Dunkin'. Tell us your personal brand slogan and the story behind it. Thank you.
What is my personal brand story? I can't say that I have one, but I just thought of it when you posed that question. And I would say it's just breathe. When people meet me or know me, they think I'm really mellow and really quiet, but they don't realize that there's a lot of things going on up in here. So it's something that I'm trying to learn to do before I get into certain situations, whether it's something new or coming to Toastmasters, doing table topics, speaking in public, or before I make a decision in my life, is just to kind of step back and breathe. I've started meditating. I try to do that a couple of times a week, something that Michael mentioned to me before, and one of my friends actually encouraged me when I was going through a little bit of a personal stress situation. She's like, to clarify your mind, just kind of meditate and breathe. And I've realized that I think subconsciously it's really helping me kind of like calm down a little bit on my day-to-day, whether it's going into work and dealing with the stresses of work and the different personalities, or even traveling. I just came back from California as well, and just being on the plane. Usually I get a little more anxious when I'm on a flight and there's turbulence, but somehow I was able to sort of like just go about my merry way and read my book or work on a project. And I think that has really helped sort of calm me and subconsciously just kind of calm down. So I think my slogan would be just breathe, and I recommend it to everybody else.
Thank you very much. So when you come to Toastmasters, you learn slogans like just breathe and a little bit about each of the people behind the Toastmaster. I won't ask my if you go back in time question because that's already been asked. If you knew some friends who were opening a new restaurant, Michael, you're not allowed to answer this. They've asked you to craft the menu because we know what would be on your menu. What would be on the menu? Sauji, come on up.
I am currently organizing an event at my office for a diversity circle, and I was going for a food tasting. I went last week. I went for food tasting, and actually my husband cooks better than me. So he was telling oh, you don't know proper cooking. What you are going to taste the food and decide the menu? It is me who has to go. Then I was telling my husband that I usually tease him that because he's a good cook, better than me. After we retire, we'll open a restaurant and I will sit in the counter and he will do the cooking in the kitchen. That is what I'm going to do with the menu. I will decide, let him decide, and I will just sit in the counter.
Thank you, Sauji. Thank you to each of you who participated. And I'm going to hand it back over to our Toastmaster for the evening, Caleb.
Well, that was a fantastic evening. I very much enjoyed listening to everybody's response, and just some very clever responses, well thought. In fact, some of the best responses I've seen from many of the people who I've been around. Just very, very impressive, inspiring. I enjoyed watching that. Just for those of you that are watching that say, I'd like to do this, I think I can answer those questions better than that group of people did, or you just like to try and answer it in the same way that we didn't get that practice. We meet in a couple of different places. For the people in these chapters, we meet on Tuesdays, one chapter at Copley Square at Trinity Church from 12 to 1. Another chapter meets from 12 to 1 on Thursdays, on the first and third Thursday at Sun Life in Wellesley. And the third chapter, that advanced chapter that Sauji spoke about, meets on the first Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. in Westboro Senior Center. Thank you very much for coming. We very much enjoyed having everybody here. I'd like to invite you all to come and check out a Toastmasters chapter in your area.